The screen fades up on the Forrester Creations boardroom, but this time the tension isn't about fashion. It's a matter of life and death, trust and betrayal. John Finn Finnegan, the impeccably confident young doctor who has become the moral compass of Los Angeles Memorial, storms into Grace Buckingham's office with steely eyes and clenched fists. He's not here to discuss billing errors or scheduling mishaps. He's here to demand the truth. Only 24 hours earlier, Liam Spencer emerged from a routine tumor removal that should have left behind a modest scar and a story of triumph. Instead, Finn finds himself staring at a pea-sized incision, far too small to have accommodated the dangerous mass they extracted. Suspicion coils in his chest. How could such a delicate cut have yielded such a life-saving result? And why has Grace been impossibly vague, offering nothing but deflections and excuses? Grace, perched behind her immaculate desk, tries to maintain composure. She's the formidable head of oncology, known for her steely professionalism and unflappable demeanor. Yet beneath her sapphire blue eyes, guilt flickers like a candle in the wind. She insists that all protocols were followed, that she consulted with the best radiologists and surgical assistants. But Finn is relentless. He's retraced every step of the operation, reviewed the pre-op scans, and even cross-checked the pathology reports, and something doesn't add up. When he asks to see Liam's chart, Grace's voice falters. It's under review, she stammers, her fingers hovering over the keyboard as if tempted to erase the entire digital record. Finn's pulse quickens. He demands to know who ordered the review, who authorized the deletion. Grace's gaze darts to the door, then back to Finn's accusing stare, and at last, she lets out a tortured whisper. You don't understand. There are things happening here that are bigger than us. Finn's world tilts on its axis. The brilliant surgeon who prides himself on medical integrity now finds himself forced into an ethical wildfire, questioning every principle he's ever stood for. What could be so critical that Grace would tamper with medical records? Was Liam's case so unique that only she possessed the audacity to cut corners? Or worse, did a hidden agenda drive her to risk a patient's life? Grace's trembling admission that she's been taking orders from someone in the shadows only deepens the mystery. As the scene cuts to black, the audience is left breathless, desperate to know, whom is Grace protecting? And how far will she go to keep her secret buried? Meanwhile, across town at the Los Angeles Marina, another drama is reaching its breaking point. Nick Marone, ever the charming rogue with a roguish glint in his eyes, has orchestrated the most romantic weekend of Brooke Logan's life, an intimate getaway in the heart of Naples. Under a brilliant Italian sun, he plans to sweep her off her feet and down on one knee with a ring that symbolizes a future built on stability and genuine affection. Yet the Italian coastline proves treacherous. In a whirlwind of romance, Brooke finds herself atop a speedboat, wind whipping through her hair, laughter on her lips, until the engine sputters and dies. The sleek vessel careens toward rocky outcroppings, and in that heart-stopping moment, she realizes that danger is more exhilarating than comfort. As Brooke fights to steady the boat, her mind is a battlefield. Nick's love is solid, dependable, a balm for her wounded soul after years of heartbreak. But as the waves crash and the coastline darts closer, her heart pounds for another man, Ridge Forrester. The undeniable spark they share crackles through her veins even now, thousands of miles from home. Back in Los Angeles, Ridge receives the frantic call, Brooke is in peril. Without a second thought, he races through the streets of Naples in a rented sports car, red-tailed pigeons of fury guiding his path. He'll do anything cross oceans, defy airport security, to rescue her from harm. Ridge's desperation is palpable. Every honk of the horn is an echo of his love, every speed-blurred lamppost a testament to how far he'll go to keep Brooke safe. In the final moments before catastrophe, Ridge arrives at the marina. Nick stands frozen on the deck, Brooke clinging to the rails as the boat inches toward disaster. Ridge's voice carries across the water raw, commanding her to let go. The moment hangs suspended between life and death, choice and destiny. Will Brooke sprint into Ridge's arms, leaving Nick alone on the trembling deck? Or will she choose the steadfast devotion Nick offers, even as the waves threaten to engulf them all? Back in LA, yet another thread is weaving itself through this tapestry of suspense. Lee Finnegan, John's mother and the celebrated international art curator, watches anxiously over young Luna Nozowa, the brilliant pianist who has fallen into a mysterious coma after an accident shrouded in secrecy. At Montague Gallery, Lee pores over security footage and medical records, determined to uncover any clue that might wake Luna. She's haunted by Luna's last performance, the final notes still echoing in her ears, and by the question of whether this tragedy was truly an accident. Meanwhile, Sheila Carter-Sharp, ever the master manipulator in pursuit of vengeance and redemption, senses an opportunity. Rumor has it that Luna's accident was no mere mishap, but part of a calculated plot. Sheila, driven by her own tangled loyalties and thirst for justice, promises herself she will unearth the truth, no matter how dangerous the path. As the credits roll on tomorrow's explosive episode, all of these narrative strands collide in a crescendo of emotion. Finn stands at the precipice of a moral chasm, torn between loyalty to a colleague and his oath to, first, do no harm. Grace's tears speak of a conspiracy that could rock the foundation of Los Angeles Memorial. Brooke teeters on the razor's edge of two loves, one offering passion, one offering peace. Ridge's fury burns hotter than the Italian sun, while Nick's romantic gamble could lead to the greatest triumph of his life, or the deepest heartbreak. And behind the scenes, Lee and Sheila circle Luna's fate like wolves, each convinced that the other is just as dangerous as the accident itself. Tuesday's episode is more than a mere installment of your favorite soap. It's a masterclass in betrayal and love, ethics and survival. It dares to ask, how far will you go to save a life, to win a heart, to unmask a secret? As the pieces fall into place, one thing is certain, nothing and no one is safe. The bold and the beautiful has never been more bold. Tune in tomorrow, August 5th, 2025, and prepare to witness destinies rewritten, allegiances shattered, and the ultimate question answered. Who will emerge victorious in this battle for truth and love? Brooke Logan's eyelids fluttered as she surfaced from the turbulent depths, gasping for air as though she'd been born anew. The salt stung her throat and her lungs burned, but the world around her was eerily silent, save for the distant cry of seagulls and the mournful slap of waves against the hull of a stranded speedboat. She blinked, her vision swimming, and for a heartbeat believed she was still caught in the nightmare of that runaway vessel. Then the memory struck. The engine's roar, the spray of ocean mist, Ridge's face wrenched with panic, Nick's open hand reaching for her just before the sea claimed control. Brooke's heart thundered. She had survived. But survival meant more than escaping the sea. It meant confronting the storm of her own making. As she fought to her feet on the rocky shore, drenched and shivering, Brooke realized that she had been treading water far longer than the water had held her. She had been adrift in identities not wholly her own, the loving wife, the loyal fiancé, roles dictated by the men in her life, and the expectations of society. In that instant, she understood that the greatest danger she faced was not the sea, but the loss of herself, cast aside in the relentless pursuit of love. Brooke drew in a ragged breath, chest heaving not just from physical exertion, but from the weight of revelation. She would not allow herself to be defined by Ridge Forrester's heritage or by Nick Marone's second chance at happiness. The waves had cleansed her, but they had also crystallized an unshakable truth. She was more than a prize to fight over, more than the sum of Ridge's storied past and Nick's earnest promises. She was a force unto herself, a woman determined to chart her own course. When Ridge finally reached her side, tears in his eyes and guilt on his lips, Brooke held up a trembling hand. His frantic words of love and protectiveness were swallowed by the wind. Then Nick appeared, his coat salted and his heart bare, ready to pledge himself once again. Brooke looked at them both, Ridge, the architect of her deepest passion, and Nick, the steadfast partner who offered a kinder, more stable life, and for the first time in decades, felt neither obligation nor desire to choose. "I'm done being your prize," she said, voice unwavering, eyes bright with the fire of her own choosing. "I'm not your wife or your fiancé, I'm me, and I won't let anyone else write my story." At her declaration, the world seemed to tilt on its axis. Ridge's jaw clenched, and Nick's outstretched hand froze midair. Brooke turned and began walking inland, each step echoing with the promise of independence. In that moment, a new battle line was drawn, not just for her heart, but for the very future of Forrester Creations. Ridge had always seen Brooke as more than muse. She was the heartbeat of his empire. Nick had come to believe that with Brooke by his side, he could inherit not just her love, but a stake in that legacy. Now, Brooke's stand threatened to upend it all. If she refused to align with either man, neither man could claim the legitimacy of her support. Forrester board members whispered in boardrooms, speculating which side she might choose, if any. But Brooke had already made her choice, to be her own pillar, unbowed by expectation or obligation. Meanwhile, back in Los Angeles, John Finnegan paced the halls of Los Angeles Memorial Hospital as though he could outrun the questions that haunted him. Grace Buckingham's confession had shattered his faith, revealing a conspiracy that extended far beyond the oar. He replayed the scene in his mind, the stub of an incision, too neat, too small for the extraction of a dangerous tumor, the missing chart, wiped clean under the guise of protocol. And Grace's whispered admission that forces more sinister than medical oversight were at play. Finn's hands trembled at the memory, and he realized that he stood at a crossroads, uphold his oath to do no harm, or protect a colleague whose loyalty had been tested by fear. As he stormed into Grace's office once more, he found her pale and drawn, haunted by the choices she'd made under pressure. "Who are you protecting?" he demanded. Grace's eyes brimmed with tears, and she released a breath that sounded like the breaking of a dam. "My family," she confessed, voice raw. "They're threatened. I did what I had to do." Finn's world constricted. The truth Grace revealed of threats against her sisters Paris and Zoe, of a shadowy figure demanding secrecy, pulled him into a moral crucible that threatened to consume him. He wanted to save Liam, to salvage his patient's life and his own integrity, but now he also needed to shield Grace's family from unseen predators. There was no easy path forward, no clear division between right and wrong. His oath felt heavy in his chest as he looked at Grace, torn between duty and compassion. At the same time, Lee Finnegan stood vigil by Luna Nozawa's bedside at Montague Gallery, where the young pianist's coma was a tragedy that rippled through their tight-knit circle. Lee's heart ached with every shallow breath Luna took, haunted by the memory of her niece's final performance, an impromptu nocturne that had left the audience spellbound, only to be followed by an accident shrouded in suspicion. Lee sifted through surveillance tapes, medical reports, and coded messages, searching for any clue that might awaken Luna. Her maternal instinct spurred her forward. Each unanswered question was a nail in her heart. Watching Lee's tireless efforts was Sheila Carter-Sharp, whose arrival in Los Angeles was no accident. Sheila's sharp mind had already registered the inconsistencies in Luna's accident report, and her own brand of justice would stop at nothing to uncover the truth. She hovered in the background, observing Lee's strategies and nursing her own tangled loyalties. Was she seeking redemption for past sins, or plotting another masterstroke of revenge? One thing was certain. Sheila's involvement would turn Luna's fate, and perhaps the fate of every family connected to Los Angeles Memorial, into a high-stakes game of deceit and revelation. Thus, the stage is set for a collision of wills and destinies. Brooke's declaration of independence sends shockwaves through the boardrooms and bedrooms of Los Angeles and beyond. Ridge and Nick find themselves not only vying for her love, but scrambling for her approval as the arbiter of power at Forrester Creations. Finn wrestles with a moral quandary that threatens to unravel his career and his conscience. Grace struggles to protect her family and her career from forces she barely understands. Lee fights to awaken a comatose soul, while Sheila lurks in the shadows, ready to challenge every truth. In this world of high drama and higher stakes, alliances will shift with the tide, secrets will surface like icebergs, and only the most determined hearts will endure. This is more than a story of love and betrayal. It's a war for identity, for power, and for redemption. Brace yourself. The bold and the beautiful has never been more fiercely alive.